Brains, old boy, brains.
Yeah? Well, what have you been thinking about?
We cartoon characters can have a wonderful life if we only take advantage of it. We can do anything we think of.
What do you mean, chum?
Well, supposing I decide I want to be a mouse. Click, I'm a mouse. Supposing I want to be myself again. Click, I'm myself again.
I bet you can't be a puppy dog.
Sure I can.
Say, that's marvelous.
Go ahead, give me something hard to do.
There we go. I bet you never thought you'd be watching Heckle and Jekyll cartoons on Sunday morning. So, you know, they were regulars in my regular Sunday morning cartoon fair when I was growing up on Long Island. And their message here, we can have a wonderful life if we only take advantage of it. We can do anything we think of. Isn't that good news? Now, I know a lot of you are bored from being home so much, but I'm pretty sure that no one wants to use the power of thought to turn yourselves into a mouse or a dog. I hope I'm right on that. Nor do we as religious or righteous spiritual people want to use the power of our thoughts to control or manipulate other people, like the heroine of Star Wars who uses Jedi mind control to free herself from captivity. We could see that. Did you catch it? Did you catch that moment where at first she was giving that instruction from a sort of a place of fear and uncertainty, and then she had a shift in her awareness just for that little moment, and that's when that really that power kicked in. Well, we don't want to use the power of thought to manipulate or control other people, but what if we could harness this power of our thoughts to heal? And of course, healing and wholeness is inclusive of mind, body, and spirit. Brian, go back to me, please. Thank you. So what if we could harness the power of our thoughts to heal? So this is what we want to explore today. This is part 3 of our 7-week series on healing and wholeness. And you've heard many times at Unity, you've heard it either said or read, I myself have said it many times, that we're created in the image and likeness of God, that we're co-creators with God through the power of our thinking, the power of our thought. As we think, so we are. And I actually sometimes have some trouble with this idea of co-creating, because to me it implies separation. You know, if I'm co-creating, am I creating with someone or something else outside of me? And to me, that's duality. That's not one presence, one power. So it makes more sense to me that through the power of thought, we lay claim to the experience of divine mind. We align ourselves with divine mind that is within us, that is our inherent nature that is always seeking expression. And Ernest Holmes, the founder of Science of Mind, wrote that the first fundamental to the understanding of the operation of thought is that we are surrounded by infinite intelligence, which reacts to our thoughts according to law. And he goes on to say that we are living in an intelligent universe which responds to our mental states. Well, that's a really important piece of information, because if the intelligent universe is responding to our mental states, we want to be sure to pay attention and become more aware and more conscious of what our mental states are. And I think this is largely what the spiritual path is all about, isn't it? The sacred text of Buddhism, the Dhammapada, begins with the power of thought, right from chapter 1, verse 1. And Buddha says, all that we are is a result of what we have thought. It is founded on our thoughts. It is made up of our thoughts. If a man speaks or acts with an evil thought, pain follows him as the wheel follows the foot of an ox that draws the carriage. All that we are is the result of what we have thought. It is founded on our thoughts. It is made up of our thoughts. If a man speaks or acts with a pure thought, Happiness follows him like a shadow that never leaves him. And the Upanishads say that what a person thinks, he or she becomes. It says if the mind dwells within the Supreme Self in connection to the one within the Supreme Self, one enjoys unending happiness. When one dwells in separation, happiness is a fleeting feather. And the Talmud says that sinful thoughts are worse than sin itself. Guard your thoughts very carefully, for thought can literally create life. And Myrtle Fillmore, who is the co-founder of Unity, and now if we could have the slide. There we go. So Myrtle says, no one, not even God, can change you or your circumstances so long as you insist upon looking at and worrying about yourself and your problems. Your problems do not exist except in your own mind, and they are only there because you have made them. As soon as you withdraw your thoughts and feelings from the things which you have invited and built up, they will fall flat and dissolve. By abiding in God mind, which means perfect order and satisfaction, you will build a new world of peace, joy, wholeness, and success according to the direction of Christ ideas. Well, now there's a concept. Not even God can change your circumstances so long as you insist on worrying about your problems. It's amazing, isn't it? So our problems don't exist except in our own minds, and only because we've made them, which means that we can also unmake them. That's the good news. We can also unmake our problems. And how do we do this? Well, Myrtle suggests that we abide in God mind according to the direction of Christ ideas. Paul called this putting on the mind of Christ. And what is the Christ idea? It's the idea of the perfect pattern of wholeness and God consciousness. That's what we're made in the image and likeness of. Ernest Holmes, who is the founder of Science of Mind, said that each one of us is already a living incarnation of God. And he said our union with the divine is not that we are one with God or that we are one in God. He said the truth that sets us free is that we are one of God. There's kind of a distinction there. And so abiding in God mind, as Myrtle calls it, is a recognition of the divine authority and dominion that we're born into the world with. The power to use our thinking in alignment with spiritual law. And because we also have free will, it's possible for our thoughts to be constructive and positive or destructive and negative. We get to choose. So I want to tell you a story that was actually delivered by Norman Vincent Peale. And he tells a story about a British professional tennis player named Jem Gilbert. She was on the pro circuit and played at Wimbledon in 1951. A woman, professional tennis player. And when Jem was a little girl, about 7 or 8 years old, she went to the dentist with her mother, and her mother needed a routine tooth extraction. But something went very wrong, and in a very rare and unusual occurrence, Jem's mother went into shock in the dentist chair, and she died. And Jem witnessed this, and it was, of course, very, very traumatic for her as a young child. And so in her mind, she began to associate that all dentists were executioners. Maybe you still feel that way. From that point on, Jem never went to a dentist in her entire life. She ignored her teeth, and they became terribly bad. And about 30 years after her mother's death, Jem got an impacted tooth that needed to be extracted. And so she refused to go to the dentist until her family physician convinced her and persuaded her that it was urgent for her health. Jem said that she would go only under one condition, that the procedure would be done in her home, the dentist would come to her home, and that her doctor and her minister and all her family members would be present. And so the day was set, the dentist came, he set up his tools on the table. Jem sat down in the chair, she looked at the dentist's tools, and without even opening her mouth, she died. Now, the London Daily News, which reported this story, had the headline, Jem Gilbert died of 30 years of thought. Can you imagine? 30 years of thought. Thought has the power to create and to build up, or the power to destroy and break down. And part of that destruction of thought we can see with some of our political leaders who will say things or tweet things, just a thought, just to plant a thought in the mind. This person really isn't an American citizen, or this conspiracy is happening there, or whatever. Just enough to plant some doubt. Thoughts can be destructive. As Shakespeare wrote in Hamlet, there is nothing good or bad, but thinking makes it so. Patricia will be very happy that I quoted Shakespeare. Ernest Holmes said that health and sickness are largely externalizations of our dominant mental and spiritual states, which means that all mind activity tends to create its physical correspondent. And in Myrtle's words, that which you think of yourself or of others or of the creation in general, you build up a belief in and begin to register in your own soul and body. And that which you habitually see mentally, your eyes begin to visualize, and the cell structures of the organs themselves are affected and built according to the vibrations set up by the thoughts. So thoughts are things. Thoughts are vibrations. Vibrations that ripple, not only in our immediate surroundings, not only within our bodies, but throughout the cosmos. Thoughts have power. And if thoughts of sickness can make a person sick, then the good news is that thoughts of health and perfection can heal a person. And so Charles Fillmore, Unity's other co-founder, writes in the book Christian Healing that man has the power, man and woman has the power to deny and dissolve all disintegrating, discordant, and disease-forming words. Knowledge of this fact is the greatest discovery of all ages. That's a pretty powerful statement. Knowledge of this fact is the greatest discovery of all ages. No other revelation from God to man is to be compared with it. That you have the power to dissolve all disintegrating and discordant thoughts. That's your power, your divine power. So here you have it. Our thoughts are powerful. Thoughts are formative and creative in power. That the infinite intelligence of the universe responds to our thoughts. That we can deny and dissolve disease-forming thoughts and words, and that we can use our thoughts to heal. And so my question to you this morning is, what do you think about all of this? Do you believe that those times when you've experienced illness or have been diagnosed with a serious condition or have been through a surgery or a loved one has had any of those things, do you believe that you or they brought it upon yourselves through your thinking or through your mental states? Now, I want to tell you, and if you're already thinking it, that is a difficult and bitter pill to swallow, isn't it? Because it makes us totally responsible for everything that shows up in our lives. And right here is where I believe we have to be careful not to succumb to the metaphysals. You know the metaphysals? That's where we get into blaming and shaming and guilting ourselves for our condition, feeling that we're not good enough, that we're not capable, that we're not worthy, that we fail to live up to the highest ideals that our teachers and mentors taught us, feeling like we're victims. You know, in John chapter 9, there's a story about the man who's born blind from birth. And Jesus' disciples ask him, "Rabbi, who sinned, this man or his parents, that he was born blind?" In other words, there's kind of an assumption that because he's born blind, something's wrong. It can't be right? And Jesus responds, neither this man nor his parents sinned, but this happened so that the works of God might be displayed in him. That's how I feel about our nephews. You know, both of them, both Gregory and Benjamin, were born with severe disabilities from birth, and both are remarkable beings who teach all those around them all the time and spread their light in the world. So we don't know, we can't judge the mysteries of infinite intelligence, what past life influences there might be, what soul contracts were made before a person incarnated into this life. We don't know. But regarding our own healing, or the healing of those that we love, I've spoken about my personal experience with open heart surgery. You know, I'd love to tell you that I could have prevented it using my New Thought teachings. Knowing that there was heart disease on both my mother and my father's side, I had practiced affirmations and denials on a regular basis for decades. But if I'm absolutely honest, I can also tell you that my diet was okay, but not perfect. Could have been a lot healthier. My exercise routine was far less than adequate. And I worked far too many hours, many, many hours, both before and during ministry. So yes, I had and have responsibility. And yes, I continue my spiritual practices and my meditation and my affirmations and denials, which I believe not only saved my life, but also helped me through the recovery. And through that recovery, I particularly loved this affirmation from Ephesians chapter 3, verse 20, which I pre-recorded and listened to throughout the day and night. And it goes like this. It says, Spirit is able to do immensely more than all I can imagine, according to its purpose that is at work within me. Let me say that again. Spirit is able to do immensely more than all I can imagine, according to its purpose that is at work within me. What a powerful and life-affirming thought that is, that there is a power within me and within you that's greater than anything that we can imagine, and that is always at work for our highest good. I can also share with you my most recent health challenge from just a week or so ago, a kidney stone. I had a CAT scan, and it was a kidney stone, which was an incredible experience, incredibly painful. I hope you've never had one. Probably the most pain I've ever experienced. And the stone hadn't passed yet. But since this happened right at the onset of the healing series, I thought, well, I better experiment with myself for these principles, right? And so I began to see and to visualize this kidney stone dissolving, completely dissolving, and the pain being gone. And also asking for and receiving prayers. You know, we have this Wednesday night prayer group, which is quite wonderful. And so Friday, I had an x-ray done, no kidney stone. It didn't pass. There's no pain, so it must have dissolved. I guess this stuff works when you work it. So when we read or teach from the Fillmores or from Ernest Holmes or from any of the great New Thought writers, Eric Butterworth, many others, I think we also and always have to keep in mind that they're speaking from the absolute principle, absolute law. That being in full alignment with those laws requires great rigor and discipline. It demands faith and application of spiritual law and the release of all doubts and negative self-talk. I think you sort of caught a glimpse of that in that scene from Star Wars. There was just that really brief moment where Rey, the protagonist there, just stopped being in fear and really focused her attention on the power that was within her. So this is the instruction of Ernest Holmes. He said that daily we must control all thoughts that deny the real and affirm the divine presence within us. So what is real? Health and wholeness, God's perfect pattern, infinite intelligence expressing in and through us as us. That's what's real. And what do we deny? We deny any limiting thought or mental state that is less than the divine idea of wholeness. And by the way, denial is not about denying the reality of the disease or the existence of the illness. It's rather denying that it has power over us. Denying that it has power over us. So Myrtle Fillmore says, think of your organism as being the pure life and substance of spirit made manifest. Keep your mind filled with joyous, constructive, beautiful, health-producing thoughts that maintain harmony in both mind and body. And when your mind is peaceful and the healing energies flow through your whole being freely and abundantly, keep your attention centered upon the healing presence and power of Christ in you. Now, how many people and how many of us can do that with rigor, with discipline, with one-pointedness, and with persistence? You know, we've said before that Myrtle Fillmore cured herself of tuberculosis, which was a terminal in the 1800s. We think in the mythology and the legend of Unity that she did this overnight, instantaneously, but it actually took her 2 years. So it's rigor, it's discipline, it's one-pointedness, and it's persistence, and it's faith in the power of our thought. Certainly something to aspire to, something to try for, and something to practice. And you know, Jesus didn't claim to have exclusive use of the powers that he demonstrated. He knew others could do it if they would only try, if they would only try. Because everything that we do, everything that we say, everything that we think carries with it divine authority. And this is one of Jesus's main messages, that all things are possible if you believe they are. All things are possible if you believe they are. So at those times when we or when a loved one are experiencing a health challenge, we can always try to do our best. We can always do our best to realize the power of our thoughts and to affirm healing and wholeness. We can always do our best to see that our words and actions are in alignment with that which we're affirming. You know, we can affirm all we want, that we want to lower our cholesterol, but if we continue to eat deep fried foods, most likely won't happen, right? So our actions need to be in alignment with our thoughts, with our words. We can always be open and receptive to any lessons to be learned and any blessings to be received. And we can always express gratitude. Charles Fillmore called this giving thanks to the great soul of the universe. I love that. Giving thanks to the great soul of the universe. And what a wonderful affirmation to thank the soul of the universe in advance that we are healed and whole. So we'll have a brief song by Lovely Blair, and then Patricia will lead us in meditation. So let us prepare for our meditation.
This inner space has the power to set me free. It's the cavern of creation and the truth of you and me. This inner space, an eternity of time. It's the moment of the holy now and the allness that is mine. This inner space contains all that I need. From deep within the invisible flows the living air I breathe. This inner space is flowing in my bones. It stirs my heart, it stirs my mind, and every prayer I've ever known. And I say, breathe, now breathe, just breathe this peace. This inner space is the ocean of your soul. And when you feel most broken, the truth is you are whole. This inner space connects us one to all. And though it would never push you, it can break down every wall. And I say, breathe, now breathe, just breathe this peace. space invites us to renew. In all my endless choosing, I become the chosen to this inner space. It never knows a past. In a quiet place you can hear it, and it might just make you laugh. So I say, breathe, now breathe, just breathe. This peace of this inner space. Thank you, Blair. If you haven't already, I invite you to close your eyes for this meditation and do breathe. Breathe, allowing yourself to fill with renewing spirit of oxygen, and exhale anything that is unlike that full, beautiful breath. Once more, breathe and release. And during our meditation, we have an opportunity to align ourselves again with the truth of our being. We are, you are, I am an incarnation of God, a unique incarnation of God. That is who you are. So I invite you to focus on that power that is you, that power that enlivens your flesh, that moves through your entire body and beyond. And we have an opportunity now to affirm the real that is eternal, and at the same time deny the power that anything unreal has over us. So we will do this with some purifying and cleansing statements that will be affirming the real and denying the power over the unreal. And our belief is what affirms the real, and we can remove our belief from anything that is unreal. Allow these statements to flow through you now. God is good, and God is all. Therefore, I refuse to believe. I refuse to put my belief in the reality of evil in any of its forms. God is life. God is all. Therefore, I refuse to put my belief in the reality of loss of life or death. God is power and strength. God is all. Therefore, I refuse to put my belief in inefficiency and weakness. I am in authority. I am in authority. And I say to this thought, go, and that thought goes. And to another, come, and that thought comes. I am in authority of the thoughts that I choose. God within me is wisdom, and God is all. Therefore, I refuse to put my belief in ignorance. God within me is spiritual substance, and God is all around me. Therefore, there is no reality in the limitations of matter. God within me and all around me is inexhaustible resource, prosperity, goodness, and God is all. Therefore, I refuse to put my belief in the reality of lack or poverty. God within me, all around me, is love. God is all. Therefore, I refuse to put my belief in hatred or revenge. Breathe into these awarenesses now for a moment. You have the authority over all of your thoughts. Take this into the silence. When we speak an affirmation, we demonstrate our authority over our thoughts. And Myrtle Fillmore would always say, "There are no discords in my body. There is only peace. And from that peace flows my health." We are so grateful to know the truth of who we are that you are a unique incarnation of Spirit, of God. And we are deeply grateful for this awareness and for this truth that allows us to move with ease and grace throughout our days and nights. And right now, we do give great gratitude to the soul of the universe, to the very soul of the universe, allowing yourself now to fill up with that immense gratitude for the truth of your being, for your oneness of God right within you, and for the truth that you have authority over all of your thoughts. Breathe again into this awareness and release any restrictions. Breathe into the truth of your being and release with the exhale any discords. Breathe again into the truth of your oneness and exhale any untruth, anything that is not like the divine perfection that you were created as. And as you begin to return your consciousness to this time and place, I invite you to stretch your arms and your hands, move your neck and head around a bit. You may want to shift or stretch your legs. And when you are ready, simply return your consciousness to this time and place. Allow yourself to return now, fully refreshed, fully rejuvenated. Once again, all together in unity and in love. Wonderful, wonderful. And so it is. Amen. Amen.